My name is David. I did a semester abroad with ICS in 2023, fall 2023. I went back and graduated. I'm from New York. I went to school in Lehman College. Now I'm working as a teacher and I'm getting my master's in Toro College, and it's really nice to be back. Yeah, I think what Jake said is pretty much like on the money, I would say. It is pretty cool to be back. Like we made like long-lasting relationships and even meeting outside of the US. I mean outside of Europe when we went back home. That felt like really great just to have like people around, but it's also like the place. I think Seville is a really great city and the program did a really good job at bringing us together or just sharing like cultural experiences together, like because of how different Europe and Spain is from the US. And it feels really good to be back like, with people that we met and seeing the places that we used to like walk around. I would say the same thing. I think the very first night was like very vivid. Like thinking back at it, like it felt so good to just like be like, in the same spot, in the same place, like just not just like geographically, but the people that we were with were in the same situation as us. We are in a whole different country, whole different continent. Some of us thought that we knew what we were gonna see, and then it's like completely different. And just knowing that we had people like our age and people who also share the same like American values, and we're like shaken by the ones here, and just enjoying a night out. I think it felt kind of like the beginning of something, and it really was like from that night on. I feel like our friendship just became like stronger and like better to the point where it's like oh like we always like check up on each other even now, like even if we don't see each other every time that we would like, we still keep in touch with everybody, not minding the difference, like the time difference or how far they are in the US from each other.
Yeah.
Definitely in New York, I would say with the two other girls that I became really that our friend group like kind of like became close with. We usually had like either like weekly meetups or just like going to get coffee, going to get food, or just hanging out, going out for drinks. And yeah, I think the trip when everybody got together to go to New York, I felt like that was the closest we got to being back here or experiencing like, okay, these are the people who I got to see a whole different side of the world with, and we ended up like loving it. And it's sort of like a bond that lives on. It's like, okay, like Sevilla is like the city where we felt the most at home. And even like Gio said, like, I've never had another place outside of like my other two homes that hadn't felt like home. So that was a really good experience. And I also went back to Chicago in October, which was really cool. I got to see three of our other friends, and that was really exciting. I think it's really cool to just keep in touch with people even if they're really far away. I would say that for me is just how different like living in another country could be, how different like lives are across the globe. Like back in the United States, it's really hard to think on any other way of living, and I guess that's sort of why a lot of people just have a culture shock whenever they visit another country, like especially if you're from America. And I'd say like the most impactful thing of living here was probably how safe and how easy it is to get around in Seville, and I would say in Spain and maybe just the EU and in general. It's so easy to get around. It's so easy to go everywhere, and I think it just makes you feel closer to, even to people who are completely different in other countries, neighboring countries. It goes to show like how similar we are. Like we're more similar than we are different. If I could go back and tell myself something to make this experience better, I would say just go out and just like bathe in the culture. Like just don't stay closed off like mentally or physically that you cannot be out there, you cannot be around people who are from here. You definitely can. I think just keeping that mindedness. There's like so many things that you could be doing, and the time here is so limited. It felt so limited at the time, and looking back at it, it felt like there should have been more going out that could have attended, and I feel like that's something really valuable. And that's how you become like more. You end up with more friends. You end up like connecting with people, just being out there, being uncomfortable all together, even if it's just out in the street.
Yeah.
I agree. I think coming to Spain, it's very eye-opening to see how some people just have things that in the US are considered privileges, like just like healthcare or being able to get around or just having making a livable wage. There's just such like high commodities back in the US, and here they're just standards for pretty much almost everyone. And I think that just makes you reflect on how different ideologies like have gone like in the US government, and how different they are from the EU or just Spain in general. For me, I'd say that one thing that we must do before we go is definitely be at the Thanksgiving dinner. I think that's the closest thing we got to being or feeling like we're back at being in ICS, at least with like at least two other people that were here on the year we met. And also, yeah, like saying hi to the people that we know. Just I feel like just walking down the streets that we used to, or even discovering new ones in Seville. I feel like that just makes you feel a lot more connected to the city, and it makes you feel like it is more of a home. The more you see of it, the more people you meet, the more friendships you develop. That just connects you even more.